Let's bring in now Marwan Bishara, who is Al Jazeera's senior political analyst. He joins me now live from Doha. Marwan, good to see you. Let's begin with some of the scenes of celebration that we've been seeing throughout the day. Earlier, we heard our correspondent, Mohammed Val, talking about the jubilation that Syrians are feeling at this moment, even saying that people have brought their young children, they've brought even babies to witness these scenes. We're looking at live pictures now from Damascus. Marwan, talk us through what exactly do Syrians expect for their future at this moment of celebration?
Yes, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary day, historic day, and it's a truly worth celebrating. But the wide celebration also hide deep anxiety about what the future holds. And that anxiety really extends to a number of crucial elements for Syria. It includes the economy, which is in dire straits, the political transition, which promises to be incredibly difficult, because one thing is to rule over Idlib, another thing is to rule over Syria, which requires a widening of a coalition among tens of opposition figures and parties and so on. And then there is bringing all the security apparatuses together. Believe it or not, in Syria today, there are acting 5, 6, or 7 security forces. There is the National Syrian Army, there is the Free Syrian Army, there is the Syrian militias in the south, there is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, there is the Democratic Forces of Syria. And we haven't even yet spoken of what is left of Assad's forces, the actual army of Syria, and Daesh, ISIS. So imagine 7 different security forces working on Syria. At least 5 or 6 of them need to be united under one security apparatus, because the arms in Syria should be only in the hands of the government. And last but not least, there's the relationship with the outside world to lift the sanctions and so on and so forth. So believe it or not, behind the wide celebration, there is really deep anxiety, because this coming government, this transitional government that's supposed to be with us until the beginning of March, needs to be able to bring all the other parties, all the other figures, ethnicities, and ideologies together and unite the security forces.
And Marwan, you mentioned some of the challenges for Syria. I'll just read some data for our audience there. The in 2024, UN data indicates that they requested more than $4 billion to fund its response inside Syria, and only around 30% of that was actually given. What exactly is the role here of the international community, including the US at this moment, in terms of helping with rebuilding Syria?
Well, clearly they have to do, first and foremost, within the next few weeks and months, is lift the sanctions. Believe it or not, there are really tough sanctions in Syria. But now there's also adding new conditions, as uttered by Secretary of State Blinken. They added new conditions to why or when they would relieve Syria of sanctions. But my worry is that the American position is again being divisive and again being unconstructive, right? Because Blinken comes to the area in order to play, the hopeful figure that will manage things. But in fact, what he just said after his meeting in Iraq and Turkey was not, first of all, clear. It was ambiguous. And second, it sounded quite destabilizing, because the whole idea of the fight against Daesh, and let's all remember, Daesh was created by the American invasion of Iraq, or through the American invasion of Iraq, as the next president of the United States says, Trump. Their mistakes in Iraq by dissolving the army, by the so-called de-Baathification and so on and so forth, led to the rise of ISIS. And today, tackling ISIS must happen by Syrians and Iraqis and Turks, not by American forces dividing Syria or supporting a secessionist movement in the northeastern part of Syria. So the United States needs to be constructive and stop being destabilizing part in this region.
And Marwan, meanwhile, at this moment, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, is also in the region. What exactly is he able to achieve, given that the administration only has a few weeks left in office, in terms of, specifically for him, the ceasefire in Gaza?
Absolutely, right? I mean, what is he doing here other than he doesn't have much to do in Washington? But I tell you, I think he's here primarily to steal the show, right? He is trying to steal the show for the Biden administration because let's all remember, for the past 15 months, the Biden administration supported genocide. It was complicit in genocide in Gaza. And now they want to, what's the word for that? Whitewash their genocide by saying, look, we achieved a ceasefire. But in fact, the credit goes to the Qataris and somewhat to the Egyptians. They're the ones who've been working behind the scene the past several weeks and months to achieve a ceasefire. And then the one who are extracted concessions from both Hamas and Israel. Qatar needs the credit, not Sullivan, who's coming here to steal the show. That's not fair. Two, I think Sullivan and Blinken are still trying to extract more concessions out of Hamas while covering up for Israel and covering up for Netanyahu. And that's, again, not fair. So the Biden administration wants to whitewash its image. It wants some kind of achievement before January 20th, even though has been, and it is today, at the expense of the Palestinians, and where, in fact, the credit lies is with the Qataris and the Egyptians.
Thank you so much. That's our senior political analyst, Marwan Bishara, reporting from Doha.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.